What's going on, YouTube? It's Fox. Welcome back to my channel. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you guys didn't see my video on Monday, I talked a little bit about LeBron James and how I thought he shouldn't be in talks for MVP conversation. And then that night, he went and dropped 46 points, 21 points in the fourth quarter, outscored the entire Cavs team. Completely made me eat my words. So if you haven't seen that video, I'll talk about that, and I talk about Kobe Bryant's passing and a lot more, so you guys can go check that out. It's on my channel. But today's Wednesday, so today we're going to be talking about music. I'm very excited today to be talking and sharing my thoughts about Mac Miller's album, Circles. It is one of my favorite albums of all time, probably one or two for me. I've sat with this album for over a year now, and it still holds up. It's still amazing. It's still like the perfect album. I think it's flawless. I think it's absolutely gorgeous from head to toe. So yeah, let's get into it. Okay, so this album came out last year, January 17th, 2020. And this album came out in a very transitional period of my life. I had just broken up with my ex, and I had moved into a new house out in East Lansing, and it came at a really happy time for me. You know, I was loving my job. The new house that I moved into, it was with a bunch of people I never knew, and they ended up being some of the best people I've ever known. You know, they became some really good friends of mine, and I'm blessed to have been able to live there. But I will never forget the night that this album dropped. I just left this girl's house that I just started talking to, and I thought things were going really well between me and her, so I was, feeling good. And then I got home, and I saw that, Mac Miller's family had just released the album that he had been working on around the time that he passed. And I just bought this JBL speaker, or I just got it for Christmas. I didn't buy it, excuse me. I just got it for Christmas, and I turned it on. I put it right next to my head. I put the album on, and I just listened to it from front to back the whole way through, and it was amazing. It was so perfect. And it's one of the very few albums that, upon listening to it, you can grab so many different meanings from it. For example, Big K.R.I.T's album, Cadillactica, for me, that's one of my favorites. And I've listened to that for over 5 years now. And every time I hear it, I still kind of grab the same meanings out of it. But this one, just in a short year, it's meant a lot of different things. Actually, just from the beginning of the album, the first line in this album is, this is what it looks like right before you fall. And for me, when I heard that for the very first time, I just left her house. I just left her place. And like I said, I thought things were going real good. We ended up just talking all night. And I thought, when I heard that line, I was like, oh, this is what it looks like right before you fall, right before I fall for her. And then, almost a year later, a couple months ago, I was in a pretty bad, headspace, just mentally. And I hear that first line, and it means something totally different to me. In that moment, just a few short months ago, it meant this is when you just say, fuck it. This is when you're just done. This is when you're just over it. Who cares anymore? Now I'm not saying I'm going to end it all, but, who cares? I'm over it. That's what it meant for me. And it was just crazy how this album has meant so many different things to me in such a very short amount of time. And it's something I've sat with for a while, and it's something I'll just never get over how amazing it is. My favorite track on here is by far Woods. It is amazing. It talks, the meaning I get from this is a lot about love and stuff like that. So what we're gonna do right now is we are actually going to listen to that song. Like I said, it's one of my favorites. It holds up. It never gets old. No matter how many times you listen to it, it just never gets old. So I really want you guys to hear it, and I want you guys to tell me what you guys think about it down below in the comments. And then without further ado, here we go. This beat, the production is amazing.
Things like this ain't built to last. I might just fade like those before me.
That opening line of that song. This right here ain't built to last. I might just fade like those before me. That, when I first heard it, it made me think about my prior relationship that I had just gotten out of. It made me think like, we weren't meant to last, and I'm just gonna fade like the ones before me. Like the guys she talked to before me, I'm just gonna fade, and we were not meant to last. We weren't built to last. And at that time, I was, really going through it. So it was still kind of fresh for me. So I resonated with that a lot.
Forget my past, got questions, ask you, know the stories.
That right there too. I mean, that hit me hard as well. I mean, when will you forget my past? I mean, we had that was a big issue between my ex and I about past stuff that had happened. And I was like, when are you going to let that go? And a big thing of mine that I always used to say to her was, if you have questions about whatever, you can ask. So I mean, that was right down my alley. That's exactly how it used to go down. But the biggest thing was, when are you going to forget this? When are you going to forget this so we can move on, so we can be better, so we can be the best that we can be? So 2 lines in, two bars, and we're already there, and it's already hitting home for me real hard.
And you need to let me know. When you leave, where you go? Can I come? Do you believe me? Are you close? Yeah. Even if you don't, that'll make you wrong. Love, hate love, heartbreak will have you bankrupt. Too many days in a days, better wake up. I put your face in the place where the space was. Nobody make you feel like you, but you are.
Oh, that line right there was kind of hard to hear it, but he says, "Nobody make you feel like you, but do I?" That's such a great line. That is such a great line. If you have ever been in a relationship or been with someone who makes you feel like you, who you could be the most comfortable around, you're just you unfiltered. Do I make you feel like that? That's such a great line. That is such a great line. And I can't even say anything more about it. It's a perfect fucking line. That's amazing.
And you don't know you should go. You just looking for someone to make you more old. Tell me, do I make this plan and feel like home. It's us first time, the door's closing.
I make this planet feel like home. It's us versus time, the door is closing. Like I said, do you have that person that makes you feel like home? That person who makes you feel like you are just, everything is perfect around you. But at the same time, it's us versus time. The door is closing. Some relationships do have an expiration date on them. They do, unfortunately. Because of your circumstance, someone's moving away to school, someone's, pursuing different things in life. It happens, unfortunately, but for him just to articulate those two beautiful things that you can expound on for so long, and that it's really hard for people to put into words, he just put it into words in 2 lines. Phenomenal.
So far beyond all our control, you saved us all so close to broken. It's so much better when you wait, forever and a day. That's all I got.
right there. That hits home for me as well. My ex, we were real on and off. So that whole put it together, then it breaks, all the energy it takes, that when you're doing things like that, it is mentally draining. I mean, it really is. It takes a toll on your mental health. I put myself in positions where it affected the other areas of my life very negatively. So right there, put it together, then it breaks, all the energy it takes. It does take a lot of energy. And at some points you're just like, fuck, like this shit is hard. It is. Relationships are very, very difficult, especially when you guys have some issues that you guys are working on. So again, perfectly said by him.
Never slip, I never fall. I try to tell you about a better life, get involved. Big or small, it's been my fault. I keep it safe, it's in a vault. Blindfolded, keep it going till we hit a wall. Yeah, I'm never going through.
I keep it safe, it's in a vault. Blindfolded till we keep it going and we hit a wall. All those issues that you have, all those things that you don't want anybody to see, you're tucking it away, you're putting it in a quote unquote vault, and you're gonna keep her blind to it until you guys are going along for so long and so fast that you guys hit that wall where she realizes something's wrong, or you realize something's wrong with her, because there are so many things that you just haven't talked to each other about. That's exactly what happened to me, to where we just didn't talk about shit and we hit that wall and it just ended up killing it. And I know there are a lot of other people out there that can relate to this. It happens all of the time. But that's pretty much the end of the track. There's a couple other, there's the rest of the verse, and the beat kind of loops for a little bit there. But that song, those lines that I talked about, they're perfect. They're amazing. I've never heard somebody else be able to take such deep things that happen, such intricate things that happen in a relationship, and then tidy them up in just a couple of lines and make it sound that good. Like, he's amazing, and people really do not give Mac Miller the praise that he is supposed to be given. I was just talking to somebody recently about Mac Miller. I shit you not, this guy said Mac Miller is trash. The only reason people like him so much is because he died. And then he turned around in the same breath and he said if Juice WRLD hadn't died, he would have been probably the best rapper alive. That dude should be banned from listening to music for the next 5 years. That was the worst opinion. That was the worst take I've ever seen. And like I said, I'm trying to be positive on this channel, but I just can't tell you how wrong that is. Mac has delved into so many different sounds, into so many different subject matters. It's crazy. If you listen to him way back on Kids, and then you hit things like Watching Movies, and then The Divine Feminine, Good AM, Circles, Swimming, all of these things, all of those albums were amazing. They all sound very, very different. You could say Swimming and Circles sound a little bit alike. They were meant to, though. They were meant to be a kind of like a yin and yang album. You can kind of say Good AM and Watching Movies sound a little bit similar, but still years apart, and I thought very different sounds. But the biggest thing, and I think the biggest accomplishment in Mac's career is to go from, like I said, Kids to The Divine Feminine. A whole album with mostly live instruments, and it's amazing. Instruments that he's playing, by the way. Like this, he didn't just outsource all this stuff and write these notes. He was playing these himself, not only on The Divine Feminine, but also on Swimming and Circles. John Byron, or Brian, he was one of the executive producers on Swimming and Circles. And he did an interview with Zane Lowe, where he talked about how during the recording sessions, Mac always tried to get John to play all the instruments. And he was like, no, you play them. This is your music. This is your sounds. I want you to play it how you want it to play. And on top of that, he said, he's good enough. Like, it all sounded amazing. He said, of course, he's not, world class at it. And, there was maybe a couple hiccups, but he said, by and far, for the most part, it's fucking fantastic. And Mac Miller was really fantastic. I mean, you can go up and watch his live performances on YouTube for the Tiny Desk concert, and he also has a whole album dedicated to it. It's called Live from Space, and it is so good. You can hear all of these songs off of all of them were from watching movies with the sound off, but they all have such a different sound when it's all done by live instruments. And you can also watch the full set that he did of Live from Space. It's not the same one that they used in the audio recordings, but you can watch him do, I think, the very first one off the tour in London. And that was amazing. Now, the crowd sucks a little bit, but that's because they didn't really know all the words. Like, it was a brand new album that he was premiering, so the crowd's not as into it as they should be. But it's his performance in itself is fucking fantastic. And Mac Miller just means a lot to me. He's, The Divine Feminine was the soundtrack to my freshman year of college. I'll never forget hearing Stay for the very first time. It was my roommate and I with another one of our friends, and we were driving in her old Honda Civic, and we were smoking, and she put on Stay. And from that first horn, it immediately drew me in. It was amazing, and I listened to Stay on repeat for probably the next 3-4 days until I finally listened to the rest of the album, and then I was listening to that nonstop whenever I could, in class, to and from class, in my dorm room, everywhere. It was nothing. I didn't listen to anything but that. It was such a good album, and I really wish more people could hear it. I wish more people appreciated for how good it was. The song Soulmate, that sample that he took from Good Will Hunting, where he's talking to him, do you have a soulmate? Not just someone who opens up things for you, but touches your soul. That's so real. And I kind of thought I experienced that, a little bit later. And it was just, Mac Miller's music has been there with me throughout my entire life, and has helped me through situations more than I ever thought it would. Like I said a couple of months ago, things were real difficult, and listening to this album really helped me get through it. And speaking of mental health, Mac struggled with that a lot. And something hit me just the other day when I was listening to this album, and just trying to find out more things about him. He, the day before he passed away, or actually the night before he passed away, he had a Twitter Q&A, and someone asked him about the very first song on Swimming, since it was just released. And he said that he told John that he wanted it to sound like an ascension into heaven. And then later that night, he went on Instagram Live and previewed a song and was making beats and stuff like that. And the song he previewed was Good News. And if you guys are familiar with that song, he talks about, one of the lines in that song says, I know there's more waiting for me on the other side. And for me, just those two things combined, if it's a coincidence, that's one hell of a coincidence. But it kind of seemed like Mac maybe knew it was coming. Maybe he knew he couldn't be doing this for as long that he's been doing it to himself. And he knew that, soon he was going to pass. Maybe it wasn't even a conscious thing, but the music he was making around that time that he passed was all music about moving on, about passing away. And it was weird. It wasn't like he didn't want to pass away. It was more like he's ready for it, he was this life is painful, and the things he goes through is a lot, and he knows on the other side he's not going to have to go through that. And I found solace in that, he's good now. He's not dealing with all these, mental health issues and shit like that. And that death hit, me and my best friend, pretty hard. So hearing all of, him say that stuff and kind of piecing these things together, it's like, he is good now. He's all right. He's, like he said, he knew there's more waiting for him on the other side, and he's getting to experience it now. Now, would we all love to hear more music from him and his family have more time with him? Sure, of course, but how are you going to say that you're mad? You can't be too mad that he's up there feeling as great as he is, So that is something that I have found solace in for sure, because that, if anyone deserves it, it's Mac. 100%. All right, and the last thing I want to talk about this album is actually the very last track and the very first track of it. If you listen to the very last track and you listen all the way to the end, there is a note at the end, and it sounds like kind of a high note. And in technical terms, it's called an unresolved note. Like there's something that's supposed to come next to resolve the melody. And when you hear it, it's kind of give you this feeling of, like I said, just not right. Like something needs to come after it. And then if you listen to the very first note in the very first song, it resolves the melody. And I heard someone on YouTube talk about it, and I went and I listened to it myself, and it absolutely does. And I don't know if that was on purpose. I don't know if that's something Mac had talked about with the producer beforehand. I don't know if that's something that the producer added after as like a little Easter egg. But if not, that's amazing that it just happened that way. If so, it's brilliant that they decided to do that. I mean, the whole album, Swimming and Circles, was supposed to be about a continuation. And to finish it off like that is such a brilliant idea. I mean, it's masterclass. You can't say anything less about it. It's brilliant. I never would have thought of it. I know a lot of people that I don't think a lot of other artists would have thought about it either. But if it wasn't, I mean, that's just another thing of everything just kind of working out with this album. I mean, it really did. It was a gorgeous album from head to toe. I will never, ever, ever get tired of it. Rest in peace to Mac Miller. Thank you to his family for putting out such a beautiful piece of music and finishing what he started. A lot of his fans, we wanted this a lot, and we knew he had been working on it. So thank you so much for finishing it. It means a lot because it's the final piece. It's the final thing we hear from Mac, and it sounds like this album. It seems like the perfect explanation point at the end of his career. Like it seems like the perfect ending to his career. It really does. I mean, in the way that it had to end, it's very sad. We all still wish Mac was here, but it just seems like the album he was making was just him saying, "I'm done. Goodbye." That's what it sounds like to me, at least. I know a lot of other people might be taking a lot of different things away from it, but he talked about love, he talked about life in it, and he talked about going to the other side. He hit all three, and like I said earlier, he didn't sound like he was scared of it. He sounded like he was welcoming it. And if that is the case, if that's true, then I'm really happy for him. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. I will be uploading on Friday again. Like I said, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Mondays are sports, Wednesdays are music, Friday is just life talks. I look forward to interacting with you guys. Any comments you guys have about the video, drop them. I would love to hear them. I'd love to interact with some of you guys. Other than that, I will catch you guys on Friday.